Okay. That caulking in the bottom of the shower worked surprisingly really good. I just filled it into the spot where it cracked, and then I put more over the top and then rubbed it around my finger to get it to where it would spread out and cover, because the crack was one center and then broke off into kind of like a Y. And so I just took that and covered it up, and it worked really well. So far, knock on wood, it's working pretty good. And so last stand at Sabre River with Keith Carradine and what's the other feller's name? Tom Selleck there. Tom Selleck. There's people over there doing the stuff, pretending to be somebody for money. Old Western clothes with cameras running around filming. It's crazy. When you sit and watch it now, when I was a kid, I really liked Westerns, so when they had newer ones, and if they were pretty good, it was like, oh good, a new Western that has a little bit more, it's not quite as cheesy as the old, Angel and the Bad Man type ones, so they were a little bit more interesting, and they were less, they'd start to make them a little less PC but they still have the political correctness, like when you watch the Wakanda Forever movies and stuff like that. They tell you a lot of information that calls people on their hypocrisy, but then gives you a magical solution that's not viable and or real. But women can now have jobs and save the world because, they can, and you're like, what the fuck? Just live the Lord's Prayer and stop acting like such an asshole. What's wrong with you, right? I went out there and picked up all the concrete from the other side of the fence and threw it over the fence and pushed it and rolled it over towards the horseshoe pits. So tomorrow we can get up and start moving any of the other pieces of terracotta and then leveling off the ground and then laying it all down and see how we're going to make it work. And that's all I really had to do was just moving all the stuff and just shoveling all the stuff. It kind of made me nauseous, but I'm like, I'm not too worried about being nauseous anymore. It don't bug me that much. And so just being the way it is and what it is, just get out there and get it done. It's been bugging me, not bugging me, it's been on my mind, It's still weighed upon my mind. Yeah, he stopped loving her today. He placed a weave upon his door. It's too late to do things right after you're dead physically. Once the page is writ, you can't go back and say, okay, I want to live the Lord's Prayer once you're physically dead, And so you're either an apostle or you're not. You're either like, the thing is with the whole thing in the Bible, what people don't get when that lady Heaton was talking about that, when Peter says, what about him? It's like, you do know that's the eternal spirit of Jesus. It says so in the book. In the book of John, it refers to Jesus as being, and Jesus and John in the first person is the same individual. So they're talking about eternity. Right? So what about him? It's like, well, Peter, you don't have to have your kids plugged into a supercomputer. You don't have to have everybody paying attention. You're not the one who's writing the book of Revelation and the source of the book of Revelation and is the spirit of the man they call Earl during the apocalypse. So Peter doesn't have to have all that responsibility on him eternally, like Pascal and Saladin and so forth. So Peter helps, and Peter's a good guy, But Peter's got to, I'm going to get killed standing up for you guys. Yeah, you're going to get crucified and killed standing up for the truth of the Lord's Prayer. Right. What about him? He's going to get tortured for the next 2,000 plus years by people reading the books about his life, following him around, and just trying to dick measure with him and compare. Saladin not being able to tell everybody that he was the Messiah, because it would have started even worse. He had to just basically he did say that, but he had to, like Krishnamurti, you had to watch your language. You had to explain it to him like I do. You can't use the words that they've taken and corrupted, because then they're saying, oh, and they argue if you in fight. So you have to explain it like, I'm the living embodiment of the Lord's Prayer, right? And people, what? It's the Messiah. Well, the Messiah is a cartoon character, so they won't let you say that. But I do say it, because there's nothing wrong with saying you're the Messiah when you are. What's wrong is saying, someone's the Messiah and you're saying it's you and you're God and you're not ready to save the people from the planet from mass murder over money yet. It's not time yet, right? So you hear all those people, no, Jesus is God and Jesus is the Messiah and he's the only Messiah. Okay, when's Jesus ready to live the Lord's Prayer? It's not time yet. No, he was ready at Calvary. Go read the book, you moron. You're an asshole, right? So I was out there working on the things, and I had Rockefeller and Rothschild in my head, And I told people this many times. Rockefeller, I don't know about Rothschild, but Rockefeller, would have people come talk to him at 30 Rock and say, I'm this asshole you call the devil, and you're just like me, and Parsons is better than both of us, And you get all these people, he's a bad person. He had this stuff. He got put in difficult situations because of you and me and my business partner, our business partners. Okay, he didn't ask to be put in those situations. We did. We joined the group. We joined the club. We get information from LeVay and what's the other asshole's name? Aquino. We get updates. We anonymously act like he doesn't exist. He tells us publicly and out, and you know me. Remember with that whole thing about that bullshit on my YouTube when I started making the videos about Jennifer Lopez, and some guy remarked on there, hey, you snitching faggot homie, get off my girl's clit. And I replied, what? First of all, if a woman wants to be with a man, that's her decision and not yours, so you don't own her clit. And secondly, I'm not a snitching faggot homie. I'm in the middle of the prison yard where they're raping all the children for money in Mexico and calling them all on their shit and telling them to stop it right now. You're the little snitching faggot homie. Okay? Remember that? that Obama, you were there. Joe Biden, you remember? Apparently, Clinton and Bush were out of the loop. I don't know. But, shit. Yeah, anybody who doesn't believe in Earl, okay, you don't believe in anyone. You don't believe in David. You don't believe in Samson. You don't believe in Muhammad. You don't believe in Crazy Horse. You don't believe in Cochise. You don't believe in Chief Joseph. You don't believe in anybody that's worth his weight in flesh and bones, given life by the glory of God. You're just a fucking asshole. I've delivered above and beyond the call of duty to be mentioned in the same breath as King David, as Joseph and Daniel and Peter and John. And they always tell me, you had worse things you had to deal with than any of us ever did. Virtual presence, mind manipulation with Wi-Fi, sexual reproduction, fear and manipulation that, you're going to be killed off the face of the planet. And how do I assimilate to this violent sex cult to them not kill me and my kids off the planet? How do I fit in, poor little old Susie Bear and Steffi, and stuff, and all the other girls and stuff. Hey, look, it's Haley Joel Osment, the little kid from the Bruce Willis movie and shit. And isn't he also on the He's also on like isn't he on a movie with? He's in lots of just movies and stuff. How old is he now? Is he like 40 and shit? He's older now. Yeah. The other day I was driving home from Wally World, right? And I was sitting there singing a song that I didn't consider an oldie, but I'm sitting there looking in my rearview mirror at this while I'm singing, whatever it is that you do, what you do when you do to me, it's a feeling and I want to stay. I get so weak in the knees I can hardly speak. I lose all control. There's something takes over me. It's not a phase. I want you to stay with me. Stay with me. I'm sitting there singing and I'm going, yeah, this is a fucking oldie, man. Can't explain why your love, it leaves me weak, right? And I'm like, God dang. Yeah. I remember me and Amy bought that CD in Santa Fe, and it was a little bit older at the time. Because I think that song came out when I don't know, was Sisters with Voice when I was at, was that when I was at Christown or when I got out the service at Fiesta? SWV. No fear, have no fear. I can't remember. I don't, there's a couple times where I get those screwed up. I think the Cranberries was Fiesta Mall, is what I want to say. And I know, of course, Loose Ends and Luther Vandross, I love you, stop, say you're coming home, was at Christown. And I met David Arkenstone, and John had the big crush on him. David Arkenstone was a nice kid. He was a really nice kid. He's a real good. I love his thoughts. He does a really good job with. I saw 3 ships come sailing. His 3 ships come sailing on Christmas Day is really nice. He's a nice kid. Well, I think he's older than me then, so he's older than me now. So he's in his 60s. But he's a nice kid back then. He was a nice guy. Yeah. John was tripping out. He's so cute. He's so cute. He's so hot. Hey, he's cute. He's got nice hair. It's got really nice hair. That was funny. John was losing his mind. It's a huge crush on David Arkenstone. I was just laughing. I was just like, oh yeah, you got this big crush on this. David Arkenstone was, in the part of the. Was it Narada? What's the name of that? The one that Patrick liked so much. With there was Lance and Spears that had Behind the Waterfall, which is Patrick's favorite. And there was Yosemite, and I forgot who did Yosemite, but that's a good one too. Steffi liked those. Yeah. She ended up with those CDs, I think. I don't know. They were Patrick's favorites when we played them. His favorite was Behind the Waterfall by Lance and Spears. Boom, 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 boom. Used to play that for him to sleep. That was one of his favorites. And when he got older, he wanted to listen to Inclinada de la Noche. The Leaning into Night. With Otmar and the Santa Fe Philharmonic. And the one song where whoa, the guy does a little thing, that would always wake me up, and I'd have to get up and turn it off because it's like I'd be sleeping and like, what the fuck was that? Oh shit, it's that like last song on the album. I'd get up and turn it off, and it never wake him up. It's like, why doesn't it wake him up? It always wakes me up, but it don't wake up him. It was cute. That was one of his. I liked it too. I put it on for him so he could sleep. And I like a Santa Fe Philharmonic. It's a good album. I haven't heard it in a long ass time. I think I still have it. I think it's in one of the boxes out in the shed. I think it is. I don't know. I don't ask me. I can't. I put them away a long time ago. I pretty sure it may be on the. It's quite tangible that it's on the computer next door, so it might be. I might have all the Otmar albums. I'm not sure. I don't recall. It's been a long time. I don't know if I still have Baraska. I don't know if I have that one anymore. I think because I think I do have Nouveau Flamingo and the Moringa. Which one's that? What is that one? The one with that Adon liked. Simpa para mi, mercy, mercy me. I love that. I like it. Adon, the guy from Mexico. With Ana Yancy in Professor Torres's class. Yeah. I had a crush on Ana Yancy. She was so cute. Yeah. I think maybe Dawn probably did too. Yeah, she was adorable. She was really cute. Yeah, she was very cute. Other person I had a conversation with the other night in the barn, I was thinking about basketball and stuff, and Barry Harper said that, and so did all the Navajo girls on the thing. They said, when I went to go talk to not Dick Bennett, but the other Bennett, the health class teacher who's the athletic director, about possibly coaching. I didn't tell him. I probably should have. It's like, you do know Barry Harper and all the Navajo girls on the basketball team asked why I'm not coaching. Because I had to explain. I understood when me and Barry Harper talked about that. He's like, man, why don't you sit and talk to Coach Bennett so he understands better how these guys bitch and play games and how he ain't going to get it. He's like, you sure? It's like, I don't think so. I think he's going to listen. He listens to his guys, and his guys follow his way, and then if everybody steps outside of his way, it's bullshit, right? And it was just, no, they bitch everybody. They like punchy, so he going to bitch him like that, huh? It's when Clinton did that thing to me. I just was not in the mood. My mom was dying from cancer. Oh, shit. If my mom hadn't been dying of cancer and been in the mood, Clinton, Mark Ingalls, and Afrashan, and Neil, and Steve, they wouldn't be able to guard me. I'd been able to he would have got mad at me. It was, why do I keep doing mid-range jump shots over your boys and baking them like I'm baking cookies? I don't know why you told me. I'd have baked them. I just wasn't in the mood because my mom was dying. And then they started being bitchy to me every time I was, he's back on defense and all that. I just didn't want to be there. And then Clinton, he thought he could just, I wasn't any good, and he went to get back down, and I got back on defense faster than he could blow his nose. And he freaked. So he flew sideways like Superman into me to say that, I got in his way and was trying to draw a foul, and then Bennett yells at me. It was just like, talk to your boy. And Barry was saying that too. It's like, no, Earl was back on defense. He should have just stopped, held it up, and grabbed the thing. He got back there so fast, he stopped his drive. And Yule wasn't having it because they were all talking shit about I wasn't any good. I just didn't want to be there. My mom was dying from cancer. I'm funny like that. I'm not motivated to play basketball when my mom is dying from a disease. I'm not like most you assholes. I'm a little different. I'm more like Confucius and less like your confusion, right? But then after mom passed away, and because I told Barry that time, I said, when you went down the baseline stuff, why didn't you just throw down on me? I came around the thing and you were open, and I didn't want to get in your way and hurt you because they used to do that to me. And he looked at me like, what? You could have, yeah, oh, hell yeah. And he believed me because when I got back on you on defense, he's like, you were there fast. I was like, well, yeah, I can. My mom's dying of cancer. I'm just not in the mood. And Barry was the kid from Los Angeles who didn't academically qualify and didn't want to play and put up with Dick Bennett's, I'm better at coaching than Steve Fisher bullshit. And he left. And but he said, why don't you help coach? It would help if, help keep these other guys from acting bitchy and acting like chicks, and it'd be really nice if you helped coach. That was the plan, but it didn't work. And because he knew everything, and he wasn't going to listen to anything I said. We talked a couple of times, but he was, you're here to learn and I'm here to teach, was basically his attitude. It's like, oh, okay, so you know it all, so you're going to win every time then. I wanted to say it to him. I didn't. I just wasn't in the mood. And then, but with the female coach, her communication skills sucked. And all the girls goes, why is she doing that? I said, well, because she wants to attain this objective, and she's doing that. And she goes, well, then why didn't she just say what you just said? It's because she coaches like a dude. She was coached how to coach basketball like dudes. And when they want to get a certain result from you, they're going to do this to you. It's like, why don't they just tell us that's the result they want? It's not how they work. And so they all started doing that. And then Shelly and all them passed it on to Tiffany and the other girls that didn't work with us. And it worked, and they got into the playoffs. They weren't going to if the coach was successful despite herself, because the girls all came to me and said, here's what she's doing. I said, here's why she's doing it. I explained to them. And typically then the girls had to literally coach themselves because the coach was an inadequate communicator, right? And Taryn Watson was in my head and told me about that. And I was like, I had a crush on Taryn, and apparently Taryn had a crush on me. But she was so quiet and so Navajo, we never did anything about it. Well, the only one I talked to was Tamara, who was dating Darren, who was a drunk Navajo macho dumbass. And she would always have these problems with him, and I'd say, well, maybe this and that, and I don't know, he's just doing that. And I was like, okay, well, if you know that, why do you tolerate it and put up with it? Well, because he's Navajo. And I said, well, maybe if you break up with Darren, you could think about dating a white guy. Ooh, no, gross, right? And Shelly and Taryn would listen, but they never said nothing. Tamara did all the talking, and they would listen. And I never talked, but I was like, all they had to do is just talk to me once, just say, you talked about dating white guys, I think Steffi made them nervous. She is lesbian and she was thuggish. And I think that's what scared off most of the girls in Arizona that were interested in dating me, because Steffi went to the same school. And Stephanie's kind of scary. She dressed like a dude, wore cologne, and dated drug dealers. So yeah, she was kind of scary. So I think a lot of girls, that's what scared off most of the girls that I went to school with in Arizona that knew me from ASU and Mesa Community Colleges. They didn't want to, and at Southwest Airlines, they didn't want to deal with Steffi. They didn't want to deal with a girl who wears wife beater t-shirts and wears Dracar Noir and dates drug dealers, which I respect that. I understand that. That's why I was, Jake's mom, she's like, wow, you should. That's why I felt to myself, I don't know if I can put you through that. But when I dated Amy, it's like Amy was dating the Nicolas Cage Snoop Dogg of AJ. So I thought anybody would be able to understand and deal with Steffi. It was Amy, right? And that's why I thought, we'd both been like, the whole thing with World According to Garp, the house has already been pre-disastered. It got hit by a plane. So, you know what I'm saying? So I asked Pat, why Amy? Because I figured we would be able to, I didn't see it that way with Jake's mom, with the whole thing with the dad breaking up the marriage because the daughter was homosexual and he was being kind of a jerk. And I didn't see that as just as big of a problem as a homosexual ex-wife who dates drug dealers. It's like, it's half a dozen of one and six of another, I think is the way Jake's mom saw it. And I thought I didn't want to put her in a situation that would be uncomfortable and difficult for her kids that she wasn't already previously in. But it's how Earl's brain works, Earl's brain, yeah. I had to explain people my brain. Well, here's what I was thinking. And that's what got them all in this trap of Rockefeller's quantum computing and artificial general intelligence was I don't always typically explain to everybody why I do everything. I don't feel it requires justification, just live the Lord's Prayer. And what got them into the point where they got in probably too deep when they took me to Sierra Vista and weren't going to come out because they wanted to win was I never had any outward dialogue about what I was doing. I would just think about it and do it. They did have outward dialogue with me and Malcolm X. They did have the outward dialogue with the prayer with me and Jesus, Just give me a scholarship, I'll play anywhere. So they did have certain kind of outward dialogues that I said out loud, but I'm not a schizophrenic like John Nash. I have relative forms of interactive faithful communication. Most of my communications I had with Jiddu Krishnamurti were not verbalized at all, and same with Rumi, and the same with Crazy Horse and Little Hawk and so forth. There was no outward dialogue. It all happened in here. So it was really hard for them to understand how my brain activity was working until I started posting on Facebook and getting the instantaneous feedback through the intense saturation of the Wi-Fi. But I got that from Rockefeller and Rothschild. Parsons, you're trying to be better than Parsons, and he's not trying to be better than you. He is better than you. He told that to Zuckerberg. He told that to everybody. You're not going to beat this guy. You're trying to be better than him. He's better than you. Okay. You're trying to be better than him. He was born better than you. He is better than you. Okay. As long as you try to be better than him, he'll always be better than you. You'll never beat him. He's the living embodiment of the Lord's Prayer. He's the eternal spirit of the gracious good shepherd. He was born better than you. You're trying to be better than him, but he is better than you. Okay? And he's not trying to be better than you. He's just that way. And that's what Rockefeller and Rothschild explained to all these assholes that are stuck in quantum computing with artificial general intelligence, thinking, singularity, singularity. Yeah, that's going to make you better than the Messiah. Because you can take computing and globally get it to work on the same thing, like the whole thing they said with that character AI stuff. It's like they can catch you being a sexual predator. Why are you being a sexual predator? Because you're being abused by economics through virtual presence of people that are sexual predators, that set up sexual predatory conditions to be heroic and invent villains to be heroes. You're trying to be better than me, but I am better than you. You just got to understand, Rockefeller and Rothschild knew it because they were older and they'd been around the block and they'd seen all this shit before. All the new kids, they thought they were better, and because they weren't put in as horrible, disgusting conditions as Rothschild and Rockefeller in the past to try to make decisions for the, quote, greater good and the ends justify their means. They're like, no. Parsons didn't do any of this stuff that we put him in. And he can get through it and get out of it. And you're trying to trap him in it, and you're the cause of the trap. So you're setting up the disgusting conditions to try to make him look disgusting. You already trapped yourself in my ego. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. Okay. They don't get it. They have brain damage. They're insane. Okay, guys, we'll talk later. We'll talk tomorrow. I'm going to go out there and throw up some hoops in the barn here in a little while. Peace out.